Stand by to launch FanStream Sports.
3, 2, 1.
Let's start.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to FanStream Sports. Nothing but pure sports.
Hey, Tito here at the Buckeye Blitz. Thank you so much for tuning in. The Ohio State men's basketball team played last night. They hosted Penn State. Their losing streak continues. Look, before the game, by the way, let's back up a little bit, I guess. Zed Key, Ohio State's one of their key players this year. No pun intended on that one, which it makes a lot of sense that Zed would be done for the year. This team is going nowhere. They are not going to play in the postseason, barring some miraculous run in the Big Ten tournament, which, you look at what their record is right now in the Big Ten. There's really very little chance of that actually happening, of them getting an opportunity to play in the postseason. So, the basketball team lost last night to Penn State in Value City Arena at the Schottenstein Center there. And it was look, Penn State's right ahead of Ohio State. That's probably they'll play in the Big Ten tournament anyways. The Buckeyes right now are in 13th place out of the 14-team conference. Penn State is 12th. Buckeyes had a lot of opportunities down the stretch, just could not connect. Talking about the Zed Key thing and the fact that he is out now. And this Ohio State team, it's been, I think it's 12 of 13 now. Maybe 13 or 14. They've lost a lot of games this year, a lot in a row. And last night was just the kind of the way the games go for Ohio State. They have spurts, they play well, spurts, they look good, but they just end up getting overmatched and can't make plays down the stretch. That's what happened last night against Ohio State here in Columbus. So the Zed Key injury is huge. He got hurt right after the first of the year, shortly after that, playing against Purdue in that game when Purdue comes in ranked number 1. Zed Key gets hurt early. Ohio State had a chance to win that game down the stretch, made an error at the very end of the game. That cost them, and that's why they lost that game. That really is what started this whole losing streak thing, the whole losing mentality, I guess, with Ohio State as it is. Chris Holtman's not going anywhere. I'm sorry, let me put it this way. The head coach, Chris Holtman, despite this awful stretch of basketball, Ohio State, one of the worst seasons in recent memory for Ohio State basketball, despite all of that, Chris Holtman's not going anywhere because he's guaranteed about $20 million if they get rid of him. So if they decide to move on from him after this year, he's getting $20 million. That's a lot of coin to throw at somebody to not coach your team. He's bought himself at least one more year. Now, next year, go down to about $16 million. Still a lot of money, but given he deserves the opportunity. And quite frankly, I'm not sure who Ohio State could get that would be better that would come in and maybe do a better job with this team. They've got a great recruiting class coming into next year, so we want to see what that happens. It's the first time Holtman's missed the NCAA tournament in his entire coaching career. Now, granted, during the COVID year, there was no NCAA tournament, but Ohio State would have made it during that time. So Holtman deserves another season to try to get this right. Bryce Sensabaugh was great again last night. The freshman, it's amazing with how effortlessly he scores throughout the game. And he does it a few different ways. If you watch Bryce Sensabaugh, and he's gone after this year, so enjoy your time watching him now in the next few games because he's gone after this. But Sensabaugh has got a big body inside, but he does not play big outside, if that makes sense. He looks like it's very easy for him. Effortless is the word I used. Effortlessly score is what he does. So he's fun to watch, and it's going to be back-to-back years. Malachi's a freshman last year. Bryce this year going to go to the NBA. He'll be a top 20 draft pick, I have to believe. Sensabaugh will be. But he looked good again last night against Penn State. And it's just a question. Felix Akpara is getting more time now with Zed Key being out. This Ohio State team, like I said, the die has been cast for them as far as postseason goes. It's not going to happen, not even NIT or a CBI, whatever else they have out there now for different postseason tournaments. I don't see it happening at all. So the Buckeyes, they should try to work on playing their freshmen as much as possible, playing rotation guys, seeing what they have for next year. I'm not so worried about these transfer guys who are going to be gone after this year, who are using the last year eligibility, grad transfers and whatnot. Zed Key, though, will be back or should be back next year if he chooses to do so. But the Ohio State men's basketball team against a loss last night against Penn State, and so they are continuing to struggle. We'll see how they play the rest of the season out. The only way I can see Chris Holtman leaving, the only way I could see Holtman leaving is if Notre Dame came calling and Holtman wanted to go there. Now, Notre Dame's Mike Bray is stepping down at the end of the season. He's already said that. Holtman could be someone who could be a fit for that. If they want to have like a kind of a seamless, kind of a smooth exit for Holtman, that could be the reason why. But if Holtman doesn't want to leave, he's not going anywhere. Ohio State owes him way too much money to get rid of him after this year. So, like I say, Buckeyes, they had like 5 shots too, by the way, in the last 15 seconds for 3-point land and couldn't make one, where they could have cut it down to a 1-point game, fouled, maybe extended the game against Penn State. Never happened. A lot of lead changes in the game, very competitive. But being competitive with Penn State is a bad sign for Ohio State basketball. But it's not as bad as it's ever been. Now, I want you to think about this. I did, think back to if you're old enough to. Think back to the mid-'90s with this Ohio State basketball team, when you had teammates shooting out other teammates' tires in their cars, and then getting driven off, guys getting suspended, guys getting booted off the team. You had characters like Gerald Eaker. You had Greg Simpson, Damon Stringer, Sean Stoneworth got in some trouble too. You get all these other different guys that there were issues with. And so the Ohio State program, it's not as bad wins and losses wise as that era was, but it's also much better as far as the way these guys are not in trouble off the court. So that is one of the blessings of this. One of the things I like about Holtman. By the way, I think Holtman, I personally hope he comes back next year and does a great job, gets a second chance to do this. But the Ohio State basketball team, though, yes, I understand why. I understand why people are upset about where Ohio State basketball is. But he deserves a second chance at this to get this right. After next year, if it doesn't happen, then they can move on, and I won't have any problem with it. Ohio State women on the other end, look, got a huge win against Michigan, and it was on Monday night, and now Ohio State has secured the women's team with Kevin McGuff, their head coach. They have secured the double bye for the Big Ten tournament, which is huge. That gets them into the quarterfinals automatically. So with Ohio State, with all the injuries they've had, and they've been, the last few years, they've just been bombarded with injuries. And so getting that extra game, extra bye, extra day off in the Big Ten tournament is significant. Once you get to the NCAA tournament, you get days off between games. In the Big Ten tournament, it is game. You play every day until you lose. So getting the extra day is significant for Ohio State, specifically in regards to J.C. Sheldon, who has played only 6 games this year. She's a star. She's a stud. She's a key part of this team. And she's not going to play, it looks like, I talked to Kevin McGuff earlier this week, it looks like she's not going to play Friday against Maryland in their season finale. The game, I don't want to say means nothing, but the game will have no impact whatsoever on the where Ohio State is seated. So they're going to be 4th in the Big Ten tournament no matter what happens in the game against Maryland on senior night. They host it here at the Schottenstein Center. But so that will have no impact on that. So Sheldon's not going to play there. They hope to have her back for the Big Ten tournament when that starts up the following week. But last time Ohio State played Maryland, they got rolled by Maryland 90-54, I think was the final score. Since then, Maryland's done a similar job on Iowa, who's, Caitlin Clark is a fantastic team. Maryland is no joke. Ohio State will have a very hard time beating Maryland, especially with the shortened bench that Ohio State has and no J.C. Sheldon. But Ohio State, brighter things are ahead for Ohio State, I believe, in the tournament. Right now, the most recent top 16 seeds came out with the selection committee did that, where they forecast, like right now, where would it be if the season ended? Where would the top 4 seeds be in each region? Ohio State was a 3 seed, which is huge because if you're a top 4 seed in a region, you get to host the first two rounds of the tournament at your home arena. Ohio State being able to play at home will be significant for them. So hopefully the Maryland, whatever happens in that game, hopefully it doesn't affect their seeding there, and then they can maybe win a game or 2 in the Big Ten tournament and get back, stay in that 3-4 range is where I think probably their ceiling is. But Ohio State, if they can get home games for those first 2 games in the NCAA tournament, that is huge. So they're going to keep working towards that. Again, Kevin McGuff is doing a fantastic job with this team with all the injuries they've had. They've only used, in their last 3 Big Ten games, out of a possible 600 player minutes, because you figure 40 minutes times 5 spots is 200, 200 times 3, 600. So there's 600 minutes available to players in these 3 games total. And I think he's used his bench for 65 of those minutes. So Ohio State is not using the bench at all. Maryland, we'll see if they use the bench a little more there, a little more liberally there, knowing that the game doesn't mean anything. But that'll be something to watch out for tonight when Ohio State takes on Maryland on senior night. All right, that's it for today's Buckeye Blitz. You can follow me on Twitter, Matt That Happens. This was brought to you by FanStream Sports, powered by DSPMediaOnline.com. But make sure you always come back and check out. We got new information coming out all the time, and there's new things happening. So thanks so much for tuning in. This has been the Buckeye Blitz. I'm Tito Jeff Thidoff. Have a great weekend.